move on to our sneaky starts, which is actually the segment.
Sneaky
That's
starts.
what Eddie Lacy does.
That's
He
what he
just
does.
derails everything.
With his fat body. Sneaky starts.
Starts week 7 all of a sudden.
Yeah. Week 7-0 Umaro. How do you say 7 in Spanish again? Siete. Week siete. Here we are.
Did you not take Spanish in high school?
No, I did, but I just blanked on what 7 was.
You just forgot already.
I took 4 years of Spanish, but I can't remember how to say 7 in Spanish.
That's how worthwhile taking Spanish in high school.
It was useless.
All right, yeah, week 7, sneaky starts. Halfway through the fantasy season already. Sneaky starts has been relatively successful. I'll hope to keep it up. We're going to keep the list a little bit shorter this week. So we're going to give you 3 wide receivers, 3 running backs, and then a couple of quarterback and tight end streamers to go along with them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just start with the quarterback, top of your fantasy lineup.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out some maybe obscure names.
Let's do it.
I don't know if many of you are thinking about these guys, but let's talk about Colin Kaepernick of the San Francisco 49ers, who do not have Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, Carlos Hyde lists 49ers, which means they'll probably struggle to run a little bit because Mike Davis isn't very good. And this is one of those classic funnel defenses where the Tampa Bay run defense is actually pretty good, but their secondary is just trash, just so bad. So for the 49ers to find any success, they'll have to throw, which is that's, I guess, what you want in your streamer. I mean, Kaepernick's probably going to throw a pick or two. It's probably not going to be a great performance, but all he has to do to have a good fantasy game is fall into a couple deep touchdowns. And he has that high rushing floor too. He rushed for 60 yards last week. Yeah, 66 yards last week. So that really boosts his floor if he can. I don't think he keeps that level up, but if he's rushing for 40 yards, that's an extra touchdown basically.
Yeah, an extra touchdown on there. I mean, we've seen this save streamers like Tyrod Taylor. If he gets his 50, 60 rushing yards, all of a sudden, the 15 points he would have put up turns into a 20, 21, and then you're really happy with a streaming performance like that.
Yeah.
So Colin Kaepernick, we've seen Tampa Bay, as you said, they've been burned by the quarterback, but more so receivers. Mm-hmm. They're about middle of the pack against the quarterback in terms of fantasy points allowed, but they're top 5. They're the 5th easiest passing defense.
Yeah.
So the opportunities will be, they're not saying that San Francisco has any elite wide receiver. They'll be throwing out Torrey Smith and Jeremy Curley, I believe. So
that's the duo.
But, we saw Torrey catch a long touchdown last week in Buffalo. The narrative going into that game was that Kaepernick would kind of boost Torrey Smith's value a little bit, and we did see that connection hit. So I think Kaepernick, I mean, we're not going to list a lot of the obvious streamers. We're going to kind of skip the Mariotas, the Tyrods, even Alex Smith, really.
Yeah, he's probably safer than either of these guys we're going to name. Or Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins is somehow out there, you're starting him over all these guys probably because of the matchup.
Oh, yeah, that's a juicy matchup against Detroit.
Yeah.
But we know that Kaepernick's owned in 11% of leagues.
Yeah.
So he's out there. He's sitting on your waiver wire. If you're desperate, if your quarterback's on a bye, then Colin Kaepernick, baby.
I also fiery hot take. I think Kaepernick's going to get at least 1 rushing touchdown this game because without any Hyde and Mike Davis being bad, he averaged, I think, 1.2 yards a carry when he was filling in for Hyde last week. So they're going to struggle at the goal line. Enter Kaepernick, rushing touchdown, boom. He's basically going to be Cam Newton light this week, is what we're saying.
Colin Kaepernick is going to be Cam Newton rest of season.
Boom. He's going to be better than Cam Newton rest of season. Boom. Book it. Bench stash take.
Boom. Yeah, but this week I fully buy into that. And if he gets a rushing touchdown, then his numbers are going to be bolstered.
Swimming in the gravy. That's he's going to have 30 fantasy points probably. It's just, why not? Let's lean into it.
Shit. If Colin Kaepernick comes out of this game with 30 fantasy points, I say we just quit. Because it will never get any better than that. We're we just called Colin Kaepernick's 30-point game. We're done.
Oh, it's going to happen. I'm feeling it.
It's going to happen. Yeah, so Colin Kaepernick against the Tampa Bay do not have a pass defense, Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
Our second quarterback streamer is going to be
Sammy Bagel Bites, Sam Bradford. Boom.
I wanted to build the tension a little bit.
There's no time.
There's no time. Sammy Bagel Bites has been relatively solid. He's kind of quietly been serviceable as a fantasy quarterback. Definitely as a real life quarterback because, the Minnesota Vikings are undefeated.
Sure.
But as a fantasy quarterback, he's putting up like 15 to 18 points a game outside of one down week where he had 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you roll out a streamer that gets you 15 to 18 points, probably won't lose you the week.
No, it won't win you the week, but you won't lose it either. He's like the high floor play. Like Kaepernick, I guess, is the risky ceiling play that he like gets a rushing touchdown and somehow ends up with over 20 points. It's like Bradford's like the floor play. Like he's not going to crack 20 points, but he'll get you like 15 to 18, which is enough to not lose your matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be bolstered by a healthy, somewhat healthy Stephon Diggs. I think he's still limited in practice, but he should be back for this game.
Which helps, yeah.
Which definitely helps the passing attack. And the Philadelphia passing defense, didn't look fantastic last week against Washington. So they are exploitable. They have a couple of young cornerbacks that will get beat down the field. And Bradford has shown, when he's called on, he can throw the ball down the field to Diggs or to Adam Thielen. Kyle Rudolph has been kind of a revelation for fantasy purposes. So he has some weapons. I wouldn't call them elite weapons, but he does have weapons at his disposal. And the way they run the offense, they kind of put him in the position to succeed. And with their defense, he doesn't really have to do much.
Mm-hmm.
But go out there and get you the 15 to 18 points. So he's pretty safe for that. And if that's what you need, if you're just looking for that safe floor, then Sammy Bradford.
Then there he is. Boom. Those are our quarterbacks. Go get them. They should be available like everywhere. We went deep with those deep cuts.
Nobody's gonna roll out Colin Kaepernick and Sammy Bradford. Can you imagine a 2-quarterback league and those were your 2
You'd
starters?
win. You'd win with that combination. With the 30 from Kaepernick and the 18 from Sammy. Oh my God, you're set.
That's it. All right, let's jump right into from quarterbacks. Let's transition into wide receiver.
Oh, wide receiver.
Natural transition. The first name I'm gonna toss out there for you guys to ponder, not Christian, but ponder a little bit
Christian
over,
ponder.
is one Michael A. Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. So we rolled him out last week, and it was relatively successful. He got you 13.8 fantasy points, 5 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He scored in 3 consecutive weeks, and you've seen his role kind of get cemented into that offense in the last couple of weeks. After the bye week, if you watch the game against Carolina, I mean, he was the guy that they looked to once they got inside the 30, 20-yard line. And he's kind of playing that Colston role in the New Orleans offense. So I think he's going to continue to put up a pretty safe floor for you.
Yeah.
Just through usage and the chance that he'll get another touchdown. I mean, they're a high-powered offense. You know that. And he has 6 red zone targets to lead his team.
That's crazy.
Brandon Cooks isn't the red zone guy. He's kind of the deep threat on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Snead only has 2. He's been banged up, but I feel like he's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit in that offense. I feel like Michael Thomas has surpassed him.
Yeah, definitely.
That's number 2. Kobe Fleener's kind of come alive a little bit in the past couple weeks, but he still only has 4 red zone targets. So Michael Thomas, far and away, is a leader in terms of red zone targets on the New Orleans Saints, and he's converted on 3 of those targets for his 3 touchdowns. So with 21% of the red zone target share, I think he is a pretty safe play, especially if you look at the defense they're playing. Marcus Peters, the best cornerback for Kansas City, this week will be covering Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
So we'll get a softer matchup cornerback-wise. I like Michael Thomas.
Yeah, and we should say, first of all, Michael Thomas is like this pretty safe, like high floor flex. Like he's probably not going to get you 20-plus points. He probably doesn't have that boom just because of this offense that spreads it around. But like his floor is really safe, and he gets a touchdown. It's a really nice week. But also, he seems to sort of be immune to the Drew Brees home road splits. Like through the season, every game he's had at least 44 receiving yards, and even in the first 2 weeks, he had 58 and 56 receiving yards. He just didn't get into the end zone, so he's pretty safe for like 50 to 70 yards, and maybe he gets a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. So through 6 weeks of the season, you look, he's put up either a touchdown or 55 yards receiving in every single game. Now, the first 2 weeks, he's a rookie, so he's kind of acclimating a little bit to the NFL. And the first 2 weeks, if you remember, those were big Snead weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Snead gets dinged up a little bit, and Michael Thomas kind of takes over. He was all the rage in the preseason. Everyone was talking about how Michael Thomas was going to be their playmaker. He could be the best rookie wide receiver in the league this year. And he's starting to show it now. And I think, like you said, in week 4 against San Diego on the road, he put up 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
On week 2 against the Giants, he still put up 56 yards receiving.
Just didn't get the touchdown,
Just didn't get the touchdown. So Kansas City, I feel like it's going to be a close game. New Orleans is going to be doing what they do, slinging the ball around the field with Drew Brees.
Slinging the rock.
So Michael Thomas is going to be the, beneficiary of that. At least, I would say he's probably good for 7 to 15 points, somewhere in that.
He's the high floor flex. If you're like, I feel good about my matchup, I just want to not have my flex totally ruin my week. He's great for that.
Yeah, fantastic. So Michael Thomas is the first name we're going to throw out. After that, in terms of wide receiver, we're going to go with a guy who's kind of fallen out of favor in terms of fantasy in the past couple of weeks, and that is one Devontae Parker of the Miami Fish.
Oh, the Fish.
The Fish, which is always a difficult one to throw out there because you think about the offense in Miami, and it's not pretty. You have Ryan Tannehill is leading the charge there for them. But Devontae Parker has been getting healthier, is what the reports are saying. He's kind of one of these fragile wide receivers that has a really high skill set, but he just hasn't quite put it together yet. And part of that could be the offense that he plays in. Part of that could be just because he hasn't been healthy, really.
Yeah.
But his first 2 games of the season, he won, over 100 yards against New England. Against Cleveland, he scored a touchdown. And then the last 3 weeks, and this is why, he might be on the waiver wire right now. The last 3 weeks, he's gone 2 points, 7 points, and 2.8. So really, really abysmal numbers. But he's definitely locked onto somebody's bench. So if he's locked onto your bench and you're looking for maybe a high upside type of flex play, I think Devontae Parker could be that guy because he has shown the capability of being the deep threat in the Miami offense, the X receiver in the Adam Gase offense. And if you look at X gonna give it to you, baby. If you look at Buffalo, they have been exploitable in terms of the deep threat.
Torrey Smith. Yeah, just did it.
Torrey Smith just did it. And Torrey Smith was wide open on that play. Kaepernick actually underthrew him, almost missed that, which doesn't really help our whole Kaepernick thing. But he almost screwed that up. But Torrey Smith was just streaking alone behind the Buffalo defense. So I like Devontae Parker as kind of a bounce back. I think it will probably be a more competitive game than people realize. But at home against, a pretty good matchup against the Buffalo defense. Yeah.
He's the high ceiling, low floor play. He's going to get you either 100 yards and a touchdown or 20 yards. It's he's more of you need your flex to help you win your week kind of guy. Which sometimes you need that. To throw a little bit of defense at Colin Kaepernick, I don't know if I actually believe this, but when I was watching that game with a couple 49ers fans, and when that play happened, the announcers was like, "Oh, he underthrew him," and the fans were quick to be like, "No, he was so wide open, he needed to just throw it up to make sure he could get it. Period." So he just lobbed it. He gave him an easy throw. So he did it on purpose, apparently, is the defense.
That's, wearing the red and gold glasses on that one.
For sure.
If he would have dropped it, they would have put the blame on Colin Kaepernick for why did you underthrow him? by like 5 yards.
Why didn't you just kneel? Exactly.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, just kneel the ball.
Let's get into
But yeah,
your...
boom or bust,
Yeah.
Devontae Parker. My real deep wide receiver start is going to be, he's probably out on the waiver wire, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, for good reason.
Mm.
That's Kendall Wright of the Tennessee Titans. Yes, Kendall Wright, that guy. He quietly had a monster game last week. 8 catches on 9 targets for 133 yards and a touchdown. Now, he has another good matchup at home against Indianapolis. Mariota has surprisingly shown that he can put up fantasy numbers. In the past 2 weeks, he's gone over 30 points, and he's done that. Yes, he's had like kind of the rushing floor to help him, but he's also thrown touchdowns. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. And he gets another juicy matchup this week. And Kendall Wright was the go-to receiver last week against Cleveland.
Yeah, he had 9 targets, and the next closest was 3. It was a tie between Rashard Matthews and Tajay Sharp. Like, this team was in desperate need of like a number 1 receiver, and Kendall Wright's like, all right, I can do that. I won't be great, but I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he caught a long pass. So he was a deep threat as well.
Yeah.
He is the slot. Technically, he's the slot receiver on their team, which means he's going to get a very nice matchup against Patrick Robinson of the Indianapolis Colts. Vontae Island will be covering Tajay or Rashard. So he's just going to lock them out of the game, essentially.
Right.
I mean, they're not talented enough to really overcome Vontae.
No.
I mean, he basically held, for the most part, he shut down DeAndre Hopkins last week.
Right.
And they were throwing at him a bunch, trying to get DeAndre Hopkins going. But Vontae Davis had a nice game. And he's, considered an elite cornerback.
Right.
So I think Kendall Wright's going to have a lot of room to roam. Now, the one argument holding him back, if you want to look at the other side of the coin, is that Indianapolis has just an atrocious run defense, and Tennessee is a run-heavy team.
Yeah.
But I think you can look at that as Tennessee, they're going to have the ball a lot in this game. They're going to be able to control time of possession. They'll be able to move the chains. And in fantasy, that just means if the offense is out on the field more, it gives your players more opportunity to produce.
Yeah.
And with the way Mariota's been rolling out, another home game against another bad defense, Kendall Wright is somebody that I think he's a pretty safe play, but he could go off again this week. So he kind of has that potential.
He is our Terrell Pryor call of the week, as we're going to call it, since that was our original big call. That was like, oh, this guy's desperate, and then we've had a few of those work out. I forget who it was last week, but it did.
Kenny Britt, baby.
Oh, that was Kenny Britt. I can't believe I forgot about my boy Kenny Britt. Yeah, like
Kenny
I guess
Britt.
if you have to, throw out Kenny Britt. So that's Kendall Wright, and so yeah, he's gonna have 2 touchdowns and 150 yards, whatever Kenny Britt did.
Yeah, I mean it's been a trend, right? Our desperation play just turns out to be the best call of the week.
That's why this episode is 90% desperation plays. We're like, you know what? Cut out the obvious plays. Get right to the desperate. Let's get right to the meat of it.
I mean, we feel like the obvious ones. You can find that information on Twitter.
Yeah.
Or you're just straight up starting them. You're not really considering.
You're not thinking about it. Yeah, it's obvious.
So these are for rosters that are going through bye weeks or
they're
have
bad
been
teams.
Depleted, or maybe they're just not good teams.
Just
right?
bad
You need production.
Sometimes you have a bad team. It happens.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. Leo's rosters are right up there.
Oh, wow. Don't listen to him, fam. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Jordy Nelson, 0.9 points.
I was
already
trying.
Off to a great start for you.
Trying to trade someone who plays on Thursday night is just like the most difficult thing ever, because like everyone wants to like and ha about a trade for a couple days, and you just don't have the time. Like the window is so small. It needs to be like the perfect trade like right away, or else like it just doesn't happen. I was trying so hard to get rid of him before this game. I just couldn't find a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I lucked out. I got rid of Jordan Howard before this game, and I think his value is going to start to take a hit. Last week he was saved by a touchdown, so he still had the double-digit production. so he was still sellable. But being out-touched by Kadeem Carey this week, it's for all the Jordan Howard owners out there, don't give up hope yet. I mean, I still think he has potential to be the future. The Chicago offense is just bad right now. So
Yeah, and I also think it's a good lesson for, yes, he was very good for whatever it was, 2-3 weeks in a row, but that was with no competition. Those 2 weeks where he went ham, there was no Langford, there was no Kadeem Carey, there was no one else there. And so you can't really look at that as like, oh man, Howard, he's the guy. Well, he was the guy by default. And then as soon as Kadeem Carey's back, he's cutting into his workload, and Langford will be back eventually, and it probably becomes a three-headed monster. So you need to be wary of those guys that have huge weeks, but no one else is around, because then it's not quite as like legit.
And that's how John Fox rolls too. He doesn't really like rookies. So as soon as Kadeem Carey was healthy enough to, produce a little bit, then he started seeing carries.
Yeah.
Carey saw some carries.
Carey saw some carries. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let's use that to transition into running backs.
Running backs, sneaky running backs of the week. Who you got? Start us off.
The first, I guess I'll start with the biggest name of the bunch, and then we'll work our way down into the ugly desk. Well, first we should just say, if you own Jaquiz Rogers or Mike Gillislee, they're like obvious plug-and-play guys this week. McCoy hasn't been like officially ruled out. It's been very like murky, but he probably gets ruled out, assuming it happens. Gillislee's a top 20 play. Jaquiz might be like an RB1 this week just because of the matchup and the workload. Like he's not very good, but if he gets 30 touches against this defense, it doesn't matter. He'll just fall into an RB1 game.
Yep, definitely.
So those guys are obvious. We're like, they're not sneaky starts. Just like, don't think because we're not mentioning them, it means don't use them. It means use them over everyone we say. Just go out and use them. First guy I'm going to throw out is one.
Hit me.
Tevin Coleman of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
Coleman owners might feel burned because he's been pretty up and down all year. He had the huge Saints game, and then the quiet Panthers game, and then the huge Broncos game, and then the quiet Seahawks game. So they're like, I can't predict this guy. This backfield's hard to predict to begin with, and now he's getting like the smaller workload, which he did last week for sure. Like I can't deal with this anymore. But now they're at home against San Diego, the 30th best defense against the run. It's a soft matchup, and I feel like this is a game where Atlanta just jumps out to an early lead, and they're like, you know what, we don't have to throw it that much. We can just like run it because we have two good running backs against a bad defense behind like a really good offensive line, like quietly one of the better offensive lines in the league. And I think that I think Tevin is going to see volume just because I think they're going to run a ton. I think they're going to probably try to play ball control against Rivers of just like, don't give him the opportunity to do anything. Just like slowly like grind out the clock while you like easily score touchdowns against this defense. So Coleman's like a sneaky volume play.
Definitely. And I mean, they've proven that they can roll out both Freeman and Coleman, and both of those backs can be relevant in any given week. I mean, if you look at the Denver game a couple weeks ago, that was supposed to be like a fantasy wasteland for the Atlanta running backs. And Freeman and Coleman both went over 18 points against Denver. We already know what they did against New Orleans. So there will be touches to go around in that backfield. I think both Freeman and Coleman will probably have good games. You just never know with Coleman if you should start him or leave him on your bench. Now, if you own both Freeman and Coleman, are you recommending starting Coleman over Freeman?
No, I'd still start Freeman first. Freeman's been trending in the direction of getting the bigger workload over the last couple of weeks. I think that's kind of, it started off as this kind of maddening split, but at this point I think it's kind of settled in as this like 60-40 thing in Freeman's favor. I think he's just been the better running back, honestly. Coleman is like kind of like maddeningly inconsistent. Like he'll make a really great like dynamic play, and then he'll do something really dumb. He kind of reminds me of Christine Michael. And then like a little bit.
So Michael, you're saying in 6 years, Tevin Coleman is going to be amazing.
Exactly. Whereas Freeman is just like, he's like, I feel like quietly been very good. Like I'm watching that Seattle game last week. Freeman was like, even though there wasn't much room to run, he was running very well. Like the energy was there. It'd be like 3rd and 20 and they give him the ball, and he's still running like it's like a 1-yard touchdown he's trying to score. The ferocity is there, which, that's an intangible that you need in your starting running backs.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, if you have Coleman as a standalone, play him
Yeah,
this week. But if you have Freeman and Coleman, if you're one of the lucky owners of both of them, then yeah, still play Freeman.
still
But
play
Coleman,
Freeman.
in terms of a sneaky start, I like it. I like it a lot.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Who's next?
Our next running back, we're gonna head over to Detroit to talk about. We're gonna hedge our bet a
Rock
little.
City.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna hedge our bet a little bit on this one and say either of Zach Zenner or Dwayne Washington. We have no idea if Dwayne Washington's gonna play. You know, he's getting limited reps in practice. But we saw this last week, and then he was like inactive at the last second. So who knows? If he plays, I guess I prefer Dwayne to Zenner because Zenner is like kind of an underwhelming talent.
I think so. Yeah.
So I guess you roll with Washington at that point. But if not, then Zenner is like a good volume play. He got 14 carries last week, and he averaged over 4 yards a carry doing it. And this week they get who? The Redskins, a very exploitable
Yeah.
run defense.
Ooh, yeah. We've seen many a back this season just tear right through their run defense. I mean, Isaiah Crowell comes to mind. Like
Yeah.
one of his last relevant fantasy games was just completely eating
Yeah.
Washington alive. So Dwayne Washington, yeah, or Zach Zenner. I mean, I would prefer Washington as well.
Yeah.
I think he does play, and I think we finally get to see, okay, is there something to this D-Wash?
Is it here or
There's a-
not? Yeah.
Yeah, is it here? Where there's been a lot of D-Wash hype between DeAndre and Dwayne. But Dwayne, he got hurt right away, so we haven't really been able to see, but they've been talking about his physical skills, his attributes, comparing him to like David Johnson. I was reading a comp, like he has the build of David Johnson. He's like a David Johnson clone. I'm like, oh, well, okay. If you're telling me that Dwayne Washington is David Johnson, then I'm all in.
And then you're in. Then he's the guy you want.
Yeah, so I like Dwayne Washington. I think it's his chance to kind of solidify his role in
Yeah.
that offense.
I am with you. Our last running back, and this is where we're getting to the desperation. No one is talking about this player area. Chris Ivory of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
the Jaguars.
I think it's the soft J.
So Chris Ivory, yeah, I feel like he really fell out of favor prior to last week's game because the offensive coordinator of Jacksonville came out and he's like, TJ Yeldon, he's ready. He's ready to take over the workhorse role. He actually used workhorse and TJ Yeldon in the same sentence. And then what happened? Chris Ivory came out and out-touched TJ Yeldon and scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
So don't really know what to make of that backfield right now. But, you know, Chris Ivory has shown that he is when healthy, he can be a very dominating running back. And I think Jacksonville, their offense has been so bad, they need somebody to kind of take over that early down work that can consistently put them in like 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5 positions rather than being 2nd and 10. But he got 11 carries against Chicago, fell into the end zone, so he had 9.5 points. Not amazing, but respectable outing for him. And you have to remember he's only been healthy really for two games. The game in Indianapolis was, I think, his first real healthy game. I'm going to disregard the Baltimore game where he had like just come back from his hospital visit. I don't know what that was all about, but
Yeah.
and the matchup, really. It's all about the matchup here. And Oakland has been giving up chunks of yardage on the ground. Their defense has looked very, very exploitable, whether it's in the passing game or in the running game. And we saw what happened last week against Kansas City. Both Jamal Charles and Spencer Ware put up over 10 fantasy points against them. And, you know, Spencer Ware, if you want to talk about bruising type of running backs, he kind of fits into that Chris Ivory mold. And Spencer Ware was just bowling over the Oakland defense, was gashing them left and right. I think we're going to see Chris Ivory do that a little bit more this week. And I think there's a high probability that he gets into the end zone again because he is the goal line back there. So
Boom. He is
you have
our
that touchdown upside.
he's our James White call of the week. 'Cause last week James White had like 2 touchdowns and whatever. And we threw him out. It's like maybe James White.
Yeah, so Chris Ivory,
I guess tight ends, right? That's it for the running
Yeah,
backs.
the running backs.
Yeah,
Let's
keeping
just
it
move into
simple.
tight ends.
I guess we'll start with the obvious one, or at least I feel like the more, I don't know, I guess both these guys are kind of obvious. We're going to start with Jack O'Doyle rules of the
Doyle rules.
the Indianapolis Colts. This is pretty simple. Dwayne Allen's hurt. He
Yep.
hasn't been ruled out yet, but based off the fact that he got hurt and then like was immediately ruled out for the rest of the game, like that's a bad sign for his chances of coming back this week, especially with an ankle injury. So you figure he's out, which means Jack Doyle finally like carries the load. When we saw how successful, last year or in the last couple years, like whenever Allen was out, Fleener would usually just eat and have a big game because he was, soaking up the targets. So you hope the same happens with Jack Doyle.
I think, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Dwayne Allen's out. Sounds like Dorsett's very questionable to play in this game.
He's awful.
So, so it's really, I mean, you have, and even T.Y. Hilton missed practice. I mean, he misses practice all the time, but, I mean, they have a very banged up receiving core. Doyle. Doyle rules.
Doyle
Will get opportunity to produce. And Andrew Luck likes to hit his tight end. You just when there's two tight ends out there, it becomes really murky who
he
he's
gets
gonna
confused,
go to. He gets really confused. Andrew Luck, just a good old country boy.
Yeah, and last week, Doyle, I almost said a Doyle too. He had 53 yards and a touchdown against Houston, who are the best defense against the tight end. And so there's a bad matchup, and he still managed to have a good game. And now he gets the Titans, which are like a pretty good matchup. It's not the best, but that's probably a bottom half matchup. So I think it's a nice little game here for O'Doyle rules. Or it's going to be an Eric swoop game, and Doyle's going to do nothing.
He's going to swoop in and take the fantasy points.
Swoop is going to swoop in.
On point.
Sure.
All right. Our next tight end streamer, I feel like, is also fairly obvious if you've been reading like the injury news around the league, and that is Make America Great Again. Cameron Brate.
Boom.
Vincent Jackson is out for the year. So Tampa Bay has Mike Evans to throw to, and Adam Humphries.
That was my thought.
Yeah. What? Yeah, Adam Humphries, who will probably see like these short, intermediate route pass catches. But Cameron Brate, he has shown that when, ASJ departed, he was being heavily targeted. In the game against LA, he had 5 catches, 46, and 2 touchdowns. The week after that against Denver, he had 5 catches for 67 yards. The last week before the bye, he only had 1 catch against Carolina, but it was for 38 yards. So even that 1 catch, it was a big play. So he does have that big play capability, and he's a red zone threat. I know Mike Evans is like the guy that they throw to when they're looking for a touchdown, but Cameron Brate is probably right behind him in the pecking order now. Without Vincent Jackson there, I mean, Winston has to throw to somebody.
It can't be all Mike Evans. It can't actually be that.
Yeah, I mean, other teams are really just going to focus in on stopping Mike Evans right now. And we don't really know what Jizz Rogers is.
Wait, I saw. Did you see the picture on Twitter of Quiz? And he had he was wearing a shirt, and it said what did it say? It was like Quiz on her face or something like that. It's like him wearing it, and it's like, why do you have this shirt? It was like the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
Well, hey. Maybe that's what he's planning on doing to the San Francisco defense. Just, quizzing all over their face.
Oh, my God. Disgusting.
It is just terrible and wonderful all at the same time.
To bring this back to fantasy analysis, even before Vincent Jackson was out, Cameron Brate was already the number 2 target on the team behind Mike Evans. And so you figure those targets, they probably get spread around a little bit evenly, but Brate's going to soak up at least a few of them. So
yeah,
make America Brate again.
Yeah, he's a Brate play this week.
Oh God! All right,
just killing it.
I think that's a good place to
wrap
it up.
This has been a great segment as well.
Oh God, yeah, we're keeping it shorter this time, guys. No more 20-player sneaky starts. It's overwhelming and just bad practice. We're gonna limit it to whatever this was, 10. From now on, 10 players.
3-3 and
3-3-2-2. Boom.
Yeah.
3-3-2-2. Boom, boom, boom.
Got him.
Got him. All right. Well, this has been Sneaky Starts. I'm your boy Leo Callie.
Yeah. Your boy Leo Callie over here.
Yeah.
I am Derek.
No interesting nickname. Derek.
No, it
Derek quiz in his pants.
is in my pants.
Boom.
I don't need an interesting nickname when I constantly just win, you know?
I don't know about constantly. Remind me of your record in some of our leagues?
Insignificant.
Insignificant. Yeah, it doesn't erroneous. Erroneous doesn't matter.
Erroneous. I mean, I have the same record as you in one league, and then I'm one game behind.
Oh, in the keeper league, you have the same record as me. I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, 4-2, right?
Yeah. Soon to be 5-2. For me, not for you.
No. We'll see. Right. After Alshon dropped a juicy 3.3 for you.
It could have been Jordy Nelson. That's all there is to say about it.
It was better than Jordy. So
better than Jordy. All right. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Find us on Twitter, on Facebook. Review us on iTunes for some reason. I guess people do that. I don't know.
Yeah, leave your comments.
Leave your
comments.
Hate,
your love. Whatever it is, we appreciate it. So thank you guys for tuning in.
And, yeah, we will catch you on the flippity floppity.
Flippy floppies.